Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the salty, sun-blistered world of the high seas, where the waves whisper secrets, the moonlight glints off stolen gold, and you're about to be born into a life that absolutely no one sane would choose. That's right, you're arriving, kicking, screaming, and probably already swindling in the cursed cradle of the Caribbean, destined to become none other than Captain Jack Sparrow. And let me tell you, it sucks. You think pirate life is all treasure maps and yo-ho-hoing into the sunset? Ha, you probably won't survive this. For real. The minute you pop out into this grog-soaked world, the deck's already stacked against you. Literally. The planks under your infant butt are termite-bitten and smell like decades of sweat, seawater, and spilled rum. Romantic? Only if you've got scurvy and no standards. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and what time it is where you're watching. I love seeing where my sleepy pirates are tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're born during a thunderstorm, of course. Because what pirate worth his sea salt doesn't arrive with lightning cracking across the sky like it's mad at the clouds? Your mother is a mystery. Historians still argue whether she was a barmaid with secrets or a sea witch with way too much eyeliner. Your dad? Oh, he's Teague Sparrow, keeper of the pirate code and about as emotionally available as a cannonball. Congratulations. You've officially inherited a legacy of violence, bad decisions, and questionable hygiene. Your first crib? An empty rum barrel. No joke. Someone tossed a dirty blanket in there and said, "He'll be fine." Spoiler, you were not fine. Even as a baby, your lullabies were sea shanties with more verses about stabbing than sleeping. And teething? Oh, you gnawed on a tiny cutlass. That explains a lot, actually. You grow up in a port town that smells like dead fish and broken dreams. The walls are mouldy, the taverns are rowdy, and no one trusts a smile unless it's got gold teeth. Your babysitter is a one-eyed parrot that keeps calling you a useless barnacle. He's not wrong. By age 5, you've already been in 2 bar brawls. Not started them, mind you, but someone threw you like a weapon at a drunk sailor. You bit him. He still has the scar. Local legend says you cackled. You learned to walk while the floor is swaying. Not because it's a ship, but because the whole building is leaning on warped beams. By the time you actually set foot on a real vessel, you're better at balancing than most adult crew members. It's your one true talent, surviving chaos like it's a warm bath. There's this one time, you're maybe 7, you sneak onto a merchant ship to steal a candied fig. One figure. Totally not worth it. You get caught, tied to the mast for hours, and the captain tries to teach you a lesson by making you swab the deck in silence. Instead, you tell him about the holes in his hull and how he's storing powder next to a lantern. The ship explodes 3 days later. Oops. Fun fact. Pirates didn't actually say, "ah," as much as movies claim. That came from a 1950s film. Real pirates were far more colorful and often way more vulgar. But you lean into the whole "ah" thing because it annoys people and makes you memorable. You're already playing a part, even back then. Around age 10, you meet a crewmate who swears he found a map to El Dorado. He also swears the map talks when it's wet. He's later eaten by a shark, which is less funny than it sounds, but you do end up with the map. Spoiler, it leads to a chicken coop in Cuba. Still, you keep it. That's the start of your mythology. A bunch of mostly useless trinkets that people think mean something. You never correct them. Here's a debate that pops up now and then. Did young Jack Sparrow really rescue a merchant fleet from a pirate ambush? Or was that story just made up to sell rum with your face on the label? Historians still argue whether that tale was real or just the start of your accidental legend. You never confirm or deny it. Why spoil the fun? Your teenage years? A fever dream of petty theft, fake names, and close calls. You work on a dozen ships under different captains, always just slippery enough to avoid real trouble, but never loyal enough to make friends. You pick up languages, weapon tricks, and a permanent swagger that people can smell from port to port. And yes, you start talking with your hands way too much. And here's the kicker. No matter where you go, no matter how fast you sail, there's this weird shadow trailing you. Call it fate, call it a curse, call it the echo of 1,000 bad decisions waiting to bloom. But something follows you. A feeling, a whisper in your gut that nothing good is ever going to stick. Even when you win, you're just buying time. You finally get your first command, a little junker called the Wicked Wench. Not impressive, but it's yours. Until, of course, you tick off the East India Trading Company. They brand you a pirate, burn your ship, and leave you for dead. Typical Tuesday. That's when you make a deal with Davy Jones. Yes, that one. In exchange for raising your ship from the depths, you owe him your soul in 13 years. You name her the Black Pearl. And that, my sleep-deprived stowaway, is where your cursed legacy really begins. You think the Black Pearl is your escape, your fresh start, your sleek, black-hulled soulmate slicing through the ocean like it's got something to prove. And for a moment, just a whisper of time, you believe you're finally ahead of the curse. But no, that ship, that beautiful, fast, dark beast of a ship, it hates you. You don't realize it at first. She comes back from the depths, all barnacles and sea breath, her sails still dripping with Davy Jones's bad mood. You run your hands along her rails like you're meeting an old lover who somehow survived the fire. And she lets you. She lets you believe she's yours. But here's the thing about resurrected ships. They carry baggage. Emotional, spectral baggage. The Pearl moves like she remembers drowning, like she resents being pulled from the other side. Sometimes, when the night's too quiet and the crew's snoring below deck, you swear you hear her groan. Not creak, groan, like she's reliving every splintered scream from her time beneath the waves. Also, and this is fun, compasses go weird around her. Yours, famously, doesn't point north. It points to what your heart wants most, which sounds whimsical, right? Except half the time it spins like a blender on panic mode, and the other half it points directly at rum or revenge. Not helpful. Let's not forget the crew. You handpicked them. Or so you thought. Turns out, most of them only signed up because they thought there was treasure buried on the ship. Some even believed the Pearl herself was cursed gold. One guy, old, balding, smelled like shrimp, tried to dig under the mainmast with a spoon. You eventually found him mumbling in the bilge, hugging a sock filled with gravel. Good times. And Barbossa. Ugh, Hector flippin' Barbossa. Your first mate, your almost friend, your occasional mortal enemy. He's charming in that, I might poison you way. You trust him, right up until he leads a mutiny, steals the Pearl, and leaves you for dead on some rock in the middle of nowhere. Again with the death theme. You're starting to get suspicious. You spend years trying to get her back. Years. Meanwhile, she sails around like she's having a grand old time, groaning her ghosty groans and growing her legend. People whisper about the Pearl in taverns, in jail cells, in the screams of storm-wrecked sailors who claim she vanishes into the mist like a ghost. Honestly, she's got better branding than you do. Fringe tidbit here. There's a theory that ships, especially named ships, absorb the souls of their captains. It's an old sailor superstition. According to this, the Pearl might actually be part of you. Like, spiritually. Which would explain why you both tend to show up late, cause chaos, and somehow survive things that should absolutely kill you. Historians still argue whether the Pearl was ever real to begin with. Some say she's just pirate propaganda, an idea made up to scare the Royal Navy. Others insist she was based on an old Spanish galleon that disappeared with a vault of cursed gold. You've never told the full story. Why would you? Truth is boring. Mythology gets you free drinks. Eventually, you do get her back. But it costs you. Everything always costs you. Blood, betrayal, and one extremely awkward reunion with Barbossa where you're both pretending not to cry/murder each other. The pearl groans in the moonlight as you touch her wheel again. And for 1 second, you think, just maybe, she missed you too. Then she throws a mast rope at your head. The sea is a jealous partner. You think you've tamed her with your fast ship, your clever tongue, your carefully disheveled swagger. But she doesn't care. She just wants your bones. The pearl, by extension, reflects that madness. She carries you, but only barely. Like a horse that's just waiting for you to fall so she can gallop off into legend without you. You keep her patched together with whatever you can find. Wood from wrecks, stolen sails, tar scraped from abandoned docks. One time, you replace a cannon with a barrel of fireworks. It works once. Spectacularly. Then your eyebrows are gone for 2 weeks. It's not all bad, though. You do feel something when you're at the helm. The wind in your face, the salt in your teeth, the faint sense that you're outrunning everything, even time. The pearl, for all her faults, moves. She glides like she's cutting into silk. You tell people she's the fastest ship alive. She isn't, not really, but no one's brave enough to race you. Quirky fact, you once trained a crab to guard your rum stash below deck. You named him Kevin. Kevin bit 5 crew members and was promoted to first mate after Barbossa vanished again. Sadly, Kevin was eaten by a pelican during a particularly chaotic shore leave. You gave him a funeral at sea. The pearl swayed oddly during the ceremony, like she was laughing. There are days when the pearl is all you have. When the whole world wants you dead, your crew is plotting something dumb, and your compass is pointing straight at a volcano. On those days, you sit on her bowsprit with a bottle of something burning and hum old lullabies from when you were a kid. The pearl doesn't rock you to sleep exactly, but she doesn't toss you overboard either, which is the closest thing to love you're going to get. Eventually, you start to wonder, maybe you and the pearl are too alike, both a little broken, both full of secrets, both just trying to stay afloat in a world that keeps trying to sink you. Maybe that's why you keep fighting for her. Not because she's yours, but because she's the only part of you that's never completely lied. Here's the cruel punchline of your cursed little comedy. The people around you are somehow worse than the sea and the ship that wants you dead. Your life? It's not a pirate adventure. It's a never-ending episode of Frenemies and Backstabbers Anonymous, starring you as the lovable fool who keeps trusting people with daggers hidden in their hugs. You'd think being Captain Jack Sparrow would earn you loyalty. You've escaped sea monsters, cheated death, and convinced literal ghosts to back off. That should count for something, right? Wrong. Every friend you make has a hidden agenda, and every enemy has a soft spot for chaos, which makes them dangerously helpful at the worst possible times. Let's talk about Will Turner. Good old broody, sword-swinging Will. You help him find his love, battle the undead, and unravel complex curses. And he still looks at you like you're one step away from kicking his puppy. There's this constant tension. He wants to be noble, and you're, well, you. You joke, you lie, you bend fate like it's soft taffy, and deep down, he resents you for it. You see it in his eyes every time you save the day, by doing something absolutely immoral but extremely effective. Then there's Elizabeth Swann, equal parts firecracker and chaos engine. She kisses you once, one time, and somehow it detonates everything. She lets you get dragged to the locker. You forgive her, sort of, because you get it. That's the worst part. You understand that people will always do what they must to survive, because you do it too. Still, the betrayal smarts. It's the little things that sting most. Like Gibbs, your loyal first mate, who loves rum almost as much as he loves you. But he'll still ditch you if the winds shift wrong. Or Anna Maria, who slaps you so hard on one occasion that time slows down. Or even Pintel and Rigetti, who are technically on your side but would absolutely sell you to the Kraken if it came with a snack. You've been marooned, mutinied, double-crossed, and accidentally sold into temporary servitude more times than you can count. Once, a man you rescued from drowning repaid you by reporting you to the British Navy. You narrowly escaped by dressing as a nun and pretending to have a contagious coughing disease. You don't talk about it, and yet you keep trusting. That's the maddening part. You could wall yourself off, act like the bitter loner. But no, you crack jokes, share plans, and hand over pieces of your soul wrapped in sarcasm. Because part of you wants to believe people will be better this time. It's stupid, it's hopeful, it's so very human. Here's a fun, if mildly tragic tidbit. Pirates often used coded tattoos to show allegiances or warn of betrayals. You've got one, burned into your arm by someone you thought was family. It's supposed to be symbolic, a reminder. But over time, it just becomes part of the background noise. Like all your scars. Like the ache in your bones when a storm's coming. Historians still argue whether Jack Sparrow ever had a real crew that stayed loyal from beginning to end. Some say it's impossible, that the pirate life naturally weeds out true friendships. Others believe there was one ship, one voyage, one perfect moment where your crew was a family. No one agrees. You don't clarify. Let them wonder. Trust isn't your only problem. There's also reputation. Everyone knows you, or they think they do. Some say you can't die. Others say you already did 3 times. People whisper you're part ghost, part myth, part circus act, which means no one takes you seriously until it's too late. That can be useful. When they underestimate you, you get the drop on them. But it also means people expect you to clown your way out of every situation. They don't realize the cost. The sleepless nights, the silent moments staring at the stars, wondering if the next betrayal will actually stick. There's one night, just one, where you drop the act. You're on a beach with Tia Dalma. The fire's low, the crew's asleep, and for a flicker of a second, you admit you're tired, that you're not sure who you are anymore when no one's looking. She doesn't laugh. She just hands you a seashell and tells you to listen. It's empty, but you nod like it makes sense, because somehow it does. Your enemies are no better. Cutler Beckett treats you like a bug he wants to pin to a display board. Davy Jones plays with your soul like it's a marionette. Calypso flirts, threatens, and may or may not have cursed you with eternal drama. And let's not even get started on the Kraken. You think you're over it, then you hear a deep splash behind you and instinctively reach for your pistol. Still, sometimes your enemies help. It's baffling. Beckett spares you once, just to see how far you'll fall. Barbossa saves you from death, only to steal from you again later. It's like everyone's playing some cosmic game of toss the jack, and you're the only one who doesn't know the rules. There's an old pirate saying, "Dead men tell no tales." You, however, are very much alive and have told plenty, some even true. The problem is, stories stick harder than truth. You become the trickster, the escape artist, the joke with a cutlass. People laugh, they cheer, but they never really see you. And you start to wonder, if everyone around you is lying, betraying, or playing pretend, is that all you are too? Just a collection of clever lines, bad luck, and rum breath? Is there anything real left under the hat, behind the grin? Maybe, maybe not. All you know is, when the cannons start booming and the sky turns black, they all still look to you. Because whatever else you are, coward, clown, cursed soul, you always get them through it. Somehow. Even if it means lying. Again. So here you are, Captain Jack Sparrow, the eternal outsider in a world that's as brutal as it is beautiful. You wear your madness like a second skin, a carefully crafted mask that keeps the real you buried under layers of swagger and witty one-liners. But inside, it's chaos, a tempest no calmer than the storms that birthed you. The pirate's life is a never-ending dance on the razor's edge between glory and doom. You've tasted both in equal measure, usually within the same day. 1 minute you're toasting with your crew under a sky splattered with stars. The next, you're running for your life from a dozen naval frigates that want to hang you from the nearest yardarm. You remember the first time you faced the British Navy as captain of the Black Pearl. Their ships looked like monsters, hulking and cruel, bristling with cannons that spit fire like angry dragons. You were outnumbered and outgunned, but you didn't flinch. You danced circles around them with your pearl, mocking their precision with your unpredictable maneuvers. The Navy called it madness. You called it Tuesday. Here's a bit of history. The Royal Navy was no joke back then. They had a fleet that controlled the seas and a legal system that made piracy a hanging offence. No trial needed. Every pirate knew the stakes. Death wasn't a possibility. It was an eventuality waiting in the shadows. Yet you kept sailing, kept smiling, kept betting on your luck and your lies. Quirky fact: pirates sometimes carried fake coins called counterfeit pieces to trick merchants. You've always had a knack for spotting a fake, whether it's a coin or a person. Maybe that's why you keep choosing the wrong allies. You're drawn to the sparkle, not the substance. The truth is, you're not just running from the law or rival pirates. You're running from your own past. The shadow of your childhood, the man you were before the hat and the swagger, haunts you. You can't outrun it, no matter how fast the pearl flies or how many rum bottles you empty. Sometimes, when the wind drops and the sea goes quiet, the ghosts of who you used to be come calling. One night, you sit alone on the deck, the ocean calm and endless around you. The moonlight paints silver trails on the waves, and the world feels momentarily peaceful. You think about your father, Jack Sparrow, and the tangled legacy he left behind. A man who ruled by fear and code, who saw the world in black and white while you live in the messy shades of grey. Historians still argue whether Teague was a tyrant or a misunderstood leader. You don't care. You just know his shadow stretches long and cold over your soul. Sometimes you wonder if your penchant for chaos is inherited, like a family curse passed down with the Sparrow name. The fact that you always land on your feet, yet never quite belong anywhere. That you're both loved and feared, trusted and betrayed. It's exhausting, and yet you crave something real. Not fame, not gold, not even the endless chase of freedom. Something simple, a place to call home, people who see past the facade, a moment of peace that doesn't come with a side of danger. Of course, that's the cruel joke. The sea is freedom, but it's also prison. The pearl is your escape and your cage. Every port you visit, you feel the pull of the shore, the promise of stability. But you never stay, because if you do, you know you lose the part of yourself that makes you, you. You've made peace with that, or at least you tell yourself you have. You keep moving, keep scheming, keep surviving, because survival is an art, and you're its unwilling master. Here's a debate for you. Was Jack Sparrow a hero, a villain, or just a man muddling through impossible odds? Scholars still argue. Some say you're a symbol of freedom, a rebel with a cause. Others call you a selfish opportunist who leaves chaos in his wake. The truth? It's probably somewhere in between, and you wouldn't have it any other way. Then there's the strange magic that's never far from your life. The curses, the voodoo, the whispers of the supernatural. You've made deals with gods and demons, flirted with death and come back laughing. Sometimes you wonder if you're a man or a myth walking the line between worlds. You recall the time you were cursed to live as the undead crew of the Black Pearl, neither dead nor alive, doomed to wander the seas forever. That curse was broken, but not without cost. You lost more than just your mortality. You lost a part of your soul. Or maybe you never had one to begin with. And then there's the mysterious Tia Dalma, witch, siren, and keeper of secrets. She's more than she seems, and you know it. Every word she speaks drips with double meaning. Every glance hides a warning. She once told you, "You're not just a man, Jack. You're a force of nature." You weren't sure if that was a compliment or a curse. Your life is a tapestry woven with contradictions, loyal yet untrustworthy, brave yet reckless, clever yet often fooled. You're a riddle wrapped in a paradox, sailing the endless ocean of your own making. Sometimes you wonder what it would be like to drop the act, to be just a man, to find peace. But then the wind picks up, the sails snap taut, and the pearl calls you back to the sea. And you answer, because you're Captain Jack Sparrow. And this life, it's all you know. You think the ocean is your home, but the truth is, it's a mirror. It reflects every crack in your armor, every flicker of doubt you try to hide behind that crooked grin. Out here, where the salt stings your skin and the horizon stretches forever, you're not just Captain Jack Sparrow. You're a man chasing ghosts. It's ironic, really. The very thing you crave, the freedom of the open sea, is also your cage. You sail endless miles, yet the weight of your past follows like a shadow that never fades. Every island you touch, every port you visit, carries whispers of who you were and who you're running from. The crew notices sometimes. They catch the moments when your eyes glaze over, when your smile slips just long enough to show the exhaustion underneath. Gibbs tries to talk, but you wave him off with a joke and a half-empty bottle. Pintel and Righetti make a game out of guessing your mood. Bad idea, by the way. They're terrible at it. Remember that time you were stranded on a deserted island with nothing but coconuts and bad ideas? You thought it'd be a vacation. Instead, you spent 2 days talking to a crab named Kevin, swearing you'd start a new crew of crustaceans. It didn't work out. Kevin disappeared. You suspect he ran off with a pelican. Here's a historical fact. Pirates had their own form of democracy aboard ship. Captains were elected, and the crew had a say in major decisions. You might find it funny how that worked out for you, given how many mutinies you've survived. Sometimes you wonder if your charm is just a survival tactic, a way to keep the votes in your favor. Quirky detail. Some pirate crews had articles of agreement, contracts outlining shares of loot, and rules of conduct. Yours? More like a list of don't get caught and try not to die. Official paperwork wasn't exactly your strong suit. Historians still argue whether your chaotic leadership style was genius or madness. Some say it was the only way to keep a crew as unruly as yours in line. Others believe it was a recipe for disaster waiting to happen. You're pretty sure it's both. The truth is, you're always balancing on the edge of disaster. One wrong move, and it's over. Lost at sea, hanging from the gallows, or worse. Yet you keep pushing forward, because the alternative is to stop, to become something smaller than you are. And that's not an option. Sometimes, in the quiet moments between storms and battles, you think about what freedom really means. Is it the wind in your sails? The open horizon? Or is it the freedom to be yourself, without masks or pretense? The answer isn't clear, but the question keeps you awake at night. You remember a night when the Pearl was caught in a violent storm. The waves were monsters, crashing and roaring, and the sky was a black canvas streaked with lightning. The crew was terrified, but you stood at the helm, laughing at the chaos. Because in that moment, you felt alive. Terrified, yes, but alive. That's the paradox of your life. Danger is constant, but so is the thrill. Fear and freedom dance together, and you're the reluctant partner who never wants the music to stop. You've lost things along the way, friends, innocence, trust, but you've gained stories, legends, and a reputation that precedes you. Sometimes that reputation protects you. Other times, it's a curse. People expect the impossible from Captain Jack Sparrow, and you're still figuring out how to deliver. So, what does it suck to be you? It's not the battles or the betrayals. It's the loneliness masked by bravado. The endless game of pretending you're in control when the sea and fate are laughing behind your back. The knowledge that every victory is temporary, every ally a potential threat, and every horizon a question mark. And yet, somehow, you wouldn't trade it. Because this life, messy, dangerous, unpredictable, is the only one you've got. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together.